Hello and welcome back to the Reaper. So we're continuing in our educational series. We've got the Spitfire here today. I don't know a lot about it. I can just about take it off and shoot with it. None of the geeky guys have got the Spitfire, so the most geeky guy I could find was Grinkle. Hello, Grinkle.
Why, hello.
So we're going to do our best to basically black our way through. It's a cockpit video, so we're going to introduce all the dials and levers and try and tell you what they do. So we're going to go on our usual trajectory on the cockpit. We'll start around here on the left, go sweep over the right front and the kind of HUD type area, and then sweep down to the right and rear. So first thing to say, it's a high fidelity model. That you get high fidelity and low fidelity models in DCS. If you want a better description of what that actually means, we've done a video just on that in our educational section, so go find that. Other than that, we're going to crack on. So we're going to look left and back, and what have we got? First thing I see is a big red bar. I know you can't use it, but what the hell is that?
It's a crowbar for hitting Germans across the head with.
So if you're accosted by Germans when you land, you can use this crowbar to smash your way out of a cockpit when open and then start smashing Nazi skulls. And let's face it, everyone likes to do that. Okay, so that's fine. Now we're going to go down, see what's I've got. Viewers, I've got tooltips on today because we just don't know this Spitfire well enough and haven't had time to research it properly, so we're going to do a little bit of cheating, but only a little bit. So we've got some three kind of switches down here under the rudder knob. Do you see them?
Yep.
Do they work? What do they do?
They're supposed to be test buttons, I imagine, for things like pre-flight and that. They don't appear to be all that functional, however. Although that might be because the engine is not running.
Okay, well, they're test at the end of the day. Oil dilution, supercharger test, radiator test. Weird. Okay, well, doesn't sound anything to do with active flight, so we're going to essentially ignore them. Hang on, my tracker is going funny again. Right, the first knob we've got is that rudder. What is that? Rudder trim?
Rudder trim, yes.
So that's my rudder trim. So you all know what trim is. So that's what it is. We can turn it left. We can turn it right. It doesn't have degrees, so it looks like you have to do it by feel, which is a bit weird.
Essentially, yeah. What I like to do is on takeoff, put that to where rudder is facing up.
Okay, that's fine. Right, under this, or just to the right and under, there is rad, flap, and pitot heat. So pitot heat is if you're flying when it's cold, up at altitude, which is basically all the time. You need your pitot heat on, otherwise the pitot tube freezes, gets ice in it, and it no longer works. So you will go, boom, turn it on. I can't turn it on. Does yours turn on? Oh, it is on, sorry. No, it's not.
Yeah, it's down for on, forward for off.
Yeah, it's just my position. I'm struggling to press it, that's all. It's because my apology, fans. It's because my tracker I was playing up. I can't get to it, but there is that button down there. See if I can get to it like that.
They are a right pain to get to. There's another one just underneath the nose.
Yeah, that's a shit design, isn't it? So that's pitot heat. I can't press it because I can't get to it. There's rad flap. What's that?
That's essentially the manual override for your radiator flaps. If you leave that as off, then the flaps will be automatically controlled by the engine. If for whatever reason you need to force them open, you just turn them on and they will open up.
Understood. Cool. And the front one that we can't see, do we know any idea what that is?
Yep, that is the automatic fuel pump. It's not supposed to be used without the engine running, you can burn it out or something like that, but I don't believe that's modeled in DCS. So if you turn that on, it can essentially mean you don't have to use the wobble pump.
Oh, that's cool. So it's like an electric pump or something.
Yeah.
I can hear when I turn it on. I can hear it go whoop. So that's pretty cool. Okay, that's interesting. Next, we have a big wheel. Is this trim again? Elevator trim?
That's nose trim. Yeah.
So right. So I can just go wee.
So you'll see a little hole on it. That's the kind of secondary way of telling what your trim is doing.
Well, what I can't see, again, unlike the Mustang, I see the hole here, but there's no real kind of, there's no angles there, so it's all done by feel.
There is a primary nose trim dial in the dashboard itself.
Roger. Oh, understood. Right, we'll go to that in a bit then. Okay, so that's fine. Elevator trim. We go up. There's a black thing. It doesn't appear to be anything. So no, it doesn't appear to be anything.
Next to that one, if you go back to the rudder trim, another important thing. There should be a black kind of whizzy handle thing you can push forwards and back, just next to it.
That's weird. I don't got the whizzy handle. I've got the rudder trim, which is a wheel, but I've got no handle or anything.
Just right of the rudder trim. From our position, it will look just like a black dot. Essentially like a large black handle.
And it moves forward loads when I press it.
Yes, it'll move all the way forwards and all the way back.
What is
That is
it?
your
What is it?
carburetor air control. So what you do is like having the grate, I believe anyway, it's like having the grate over the engine intakes of a jet.
Right.
So when you're flying low and you're taxiing, you push that forwards and that'll cover the carburetor air intake and stop all sorts of nasty crap getting in there.
Right. So what's our default? Just normal, or?
It's forward for taxi and takeoff, and back once you're in the air and you're clear of any foreign objects.
So you put the filter on when we're taxiing on the ground, and then that when. See, I didn't even know that. So I wonder if it's been affecting our performance at all.
Potentially, yeah. I often put it forwards, and then because I'm me, I figured to put it back again. But I believe that will limit your maximum engine performance.
Interesting. Okay, that's something I've got to have a look at. Now look at the seat. What an awful seat. Who sits in that? Jesus Christ. These poor old boys have to fly for hours.
Yeah, in a hard metal seat.
Nice. All right. Right. Here we go. Big screwy turn. Oh no, it's a throttle. It's a throttle. So that is. Yes, that is indeed my throttle. Bish bash bosh. Forward.
You'll have three handles all on the throttle control.
Yeah, oh, just a note, there's an elevator trim, there's a rudder trim, there is no aileron trim in this aircraft. Yes, that is as annoying as it sounds, not having aileron trim. Right, so the throttle is the throttle, obviously, don't need to explain that. There is the left one, which is the red handle. What's that little blighter?
That's mixture. Mixture is mostly controlled automatically by the Spitfire, so it'll have two positions: off, which means no fuel, essentially, and forward, which means fully automatic. It'll do all the mixture itself.
Right, so essentially that's going to be a forwards all the time, essentially.
Yeah, during or normal flight operations, there's no reason to. In fact, if you pull that back, it will kill your engine.
Roger. Strangely enough, there's under the throttle handle, there's a little switch, if you move the throttle handle out of the way, called, if I can get a hang of it, indicator. Why the hell would you turn that off?
I've never played with that, but I believe that's essentially things like your, I don't know, yeah, your throttle indicator. Yeah, what that does is it turns on and off the lights on the dashboard.
Yeah, understood. Now, what if we go down? Is there another lever at the bottom? No. No, yeah, there is a lever.
There is. That's your RPM control. Right,
that's the RPM control. So, okay, that's the RPM control, that's the throttle, and that's mixture control. Right, it's pretty similar to the Mustang. It just looks differently obvious. Looks different, obviously. Okay, fine. That's pretty. It's all pretty simple, to be honest. Okay, that's good. Up. Now that looks like a radio to me. Looks like a standard World War II type radio. So these are going to be pre-tuned frequencies, aren't they?
Yes.
A, B, C, D. In fact, this looks identical to the one in the Mustang.
Yep, and then you've got the switch on the side that'll turn the lights on and off for night and day operations.
Switch on the side. Which is the switch on the side?
Just a little. It's next to A, so there'll be a little metal kind of.
10-4. Oh yeah, that shows you the lights. Yep. Okay, that's fair enough. That's fine. They've got this one here called switching lock lever, and it doesn't work, so we're going to ignore that. And this one here that is different radio modes, so that is transmit and receive. So that's fine. And that is the radio, nice and simple, just like I like. Right, we're on to the front, the main front dash now, so we're getting there. We're going to start at the bottom left. We've got a couple of magneto switches, so they go on and they go off. Simple as that. Now I wonder why we've got two magnetos. Is it because it's a V12 and something to do with that, or I don't know.
Probably. I'm not too educated on the actual in-depth workings of the Merlin. But I mean, as you said, they're just both of them on as long as you're flying, really.
Roger that. Now let's go down. We've got our first steam gauge, something to do with brakes. It says brakes on it, but
that's the brake pressure indicator in PSI.
Now, oh, look at that! Look at that! I'm pressing the brake, and it's making noises. Press your wheel brake and see what it does.
Yeah, as you release, the flaps will do it too when you're on the ground and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, it makes all sorts of lovely steam engine noise.
Right, so these are my left and right wheel brakes I'm pressing, and there's also another big needle which is something else, but I don't think we're going to find out a way of doing that. But that's pretty cool. So what's that? Is that hydraulic? Is that hydraulics? Hydraulic pressure, I imagine. Something like that. Cool. Okay, well that's that. I don't know why really you need a gauge for that, but that's pretty cool. Right, above and left, that appears to be a clock. And it
Yes.
appears to be accurate. Excellent. Look, even the second-hand is modelled. None of the planes have a second-hand that are modelled, so this is an accurate model. We like it. Well, we've got everything going on for it here. And on the left of the clock, we've got a adjuster, I think. Yep. You can adjust it, and it even makes a clicky sound when you adjust it. Ooh, I like this one. Okay, so that's pretty sexy. Now we're going to go right of the brake pressure gauge, and we've got, what is that? It looks like a trim. Trim.
Yes, that's the
So
primary trim indication.
Right, so we can turn that, and look, the trim changes. That's how we can tell what our trim is. That's all making sense now. Above that, we've got our gear indicator. Even I can work this one out. That shows if the gear is down. That shows if the gear is up. And if no lights are showing, I believe it's transitioning, and there's no pressy things there. So
if you go to the top of the trim thing, top of the gear light thing, you can click. You should get a sort of cover if you like doing realistic night operations. That's just to keep the light covered at night.
Wow. How about this, guys? A 3D modelled little thing so you can cover that at night. Pretty sick. Like that. Okay, now we've got a massive, between the next two gauges that are above, we've got a massive wing nut thing. What the hell
that's
is that?
oxygen gate. That's the oxygen control.
So you just turn it, it's just on or off then by the sounds of it.
Yes. If you turn that, you should see the gauge on the left, moving.
That must be oxygen pressure, I'd imagine, then, by the sounds of that, PSI
Indeed.
or something. Okay, that's fine. Then we've got the fuel tank. Now, I always get tricked by this because the fuel needle never seems to budge, but you say you never...
That's the oxygen tank.
Oh,
not the fuel.
Oh, fuck me. So
you look at the top, it'll say oxygen supply available.
All this time I thought that was my fuel gauge. Look. Oh, it says full, not fuel. I read that as full fuel, and so I've always used that as my fuel gauge, hence why I constantly run out of fuel in mid-air, even though the gauge is stuck on full. Who's the silly cap? See, this is why we do this, viewers, because otherwise you fly like me. Right, well, there you go. That's the oxygen tank fullness. Okay, let's go up. We've got an on or an off. Now, what could that be?
That is your lights. If you look out to the side, you should see them come on, and turn it off, and you should see them go off again.
Stand by. I didn't know that, so that's easy to get to. Ta-da! Lights are on. Sexy. Lovely. Then we've got flaps. They're not going to work because the engine's not turned on, I guess, but
no, they still work. If you turn them off, you should get another nice, satisfying hydraulic sound as well.
There they are. Now I like this plane. I'm going to fly this more. Ready? Up you go. Oh yeah, steam engines. How cool. Okay, that was pretty sick. And a warning, flaps must not be lowered, must not be down or lowered at speeds above 160. Well, tough, because I always do it at 200, so Cap's a silly man. That's pretty why I break my aeroplane. Okay, fair enough. Now let's get to the Speedo. So it's, I mean, it looks fairly complicated. It's actually very easy to use. So it's got one needle and it goes, it's all in knots, 60 knots, 80 knots, 100 knots, all the way around to 280 knots, at which point it goes into this inner gauge, 300, 320, 360. Now we've got some information come through on the Warbirds about their speeds, and it says this can do 404 knots. I've never gone that fast.
Well, it's actually in miles per hour.
I didn't mean to say that. Miles per hour, Roger. Ignore knots. I meant miles per hour. Okay.
But yeah, I've never, unless you're in a crazy dive with your engine going full blast, you shouldn't ever reach really 400, 440.
Okay, well, we're going to do a video about that soon, comparing all the Warbirds, but we'll leave that till then. Right, next, altimeter, barometric almost, well, yeah, obviously. Big needle, thousands, no, hang on, which is which? Big needle's thousands. Small needle, a medium, long needle is hundreds. And what's the tiny needle? It must be tens of thousands?
I assume, like the Mustang.
So that could be like, so it was there, that'd be 20,000. Okay, got that. That's pretty cool. Do we have, yeah, we can adjust the pressure here. So, yep, there you go. See, each airport has a different QNH because of the pressure, because of their altitude. So you can zero it in, basically, for your particular airfield or target. That's pretty sick. Next, on the right, a basic compass by the looks of it. Directional, no, it says a directional gyro. Is that something different to a compass then?
Yeah, I believe it's just a compass.
It looks just like a compass to me. It seems to work, and it adjusts.
And you got the adjustment knob just below.
Seems to be a glorified compass, essentially. Okay, we're going to go up from here, and there is a big gauge. Now, what the devil is that? Artificial horizon. That's the artificial horizon.
Yes.
So
this is absolutely terrible in the Spitfire.
It does look absolutely
terrible. Never use it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's accurate, but once you start pulling any sort of G's, it'll just completely unsync. So you'll find yourself visually, and so you'll have 0 climb and descent rate, and absolutely visually wings level, and that thing will still say you're banking at 45 degrees.
My word, that's going to be... Okay, I'm never going to use that. Which is horrible, because if you're flying at bad conditions, you absolutely need this to work. Alright, well, the Artificial Horizon, just in case you doesn't know, shows you roll, shows you elevation, shows various angles of the aircraft, so that's fair enough. Been through that. Now if I were to move my stick out the way, what have we got down here? We've got... Hang on, I'm trying to multitask. We've got... What are those little...
Oh, the 2 little knobs down there are lights.
Oh, right, so that's port light on, off, and that is... Interior light. Way! Hello, interior light. Oh, off. Hang on.
Which should have just turned on that little black thing on the side you mentioned earlier.
Yeah. Okay, that's that. Now, floodlights. Okay, so now if we go down, that is a compass. That's a compass. Is it anything more than a compass? Can you set bearings and stuff?
You can turn it to set bearings. It is, however, in an incredibly horrible place to see without VR.
But here's the thing, you need to move your stick fully to the right to see it, which means you're going to crash. So good luck using that, anyone. So that is a compass where you can set bearings and stuff, but we're never going to be able to use it literally because you can't see around it. So it's kind of irrelevant to us. Shame, it looks sexy. Right, if we go to the right of that, there is something that says on and off, but I'm having track IR problems. Here we go. Fuel on or off, so there's just a fuel shut-off valve by the looks of it.
Yep.
Simple as that. Don't need to explain that. Above that is 2 things. Covers, and what are they? There is starter and booster coil, both of which are going to be used to start the engine, essentially, aren't they?
Pretty much.
Okay, if we go up next, we've got... Now, what the devil is this?
That's your turn slip.
Turn slip, right, hang on. So the side slips at the top, up to 20 degrees left and 20 degrees right. What does turn slip mean? Is that roll or...?
That'll just let you know whether you're turning or sliding. It can be very useful for if you're... So the top one, I believe, is a replacement for what you normally get in the other jets, where you get the kind of spirit level.
Yeah, your spirit level, yeah.
So that's a replacement for that, and then the bottom one's just a standard turn, but it's quite useful for when you're kind of sorting out your rudder trim to get rid of the really annoying pull to the right.
Okay, yep, absolutely, and okay, that's interesting. I'm going to have more look at that. Climb descent gauge, so in thousands of feet per minute, so if it was down here, you'd be descending 1,000 feet per minute, up here, ascending 1,000 feet per minute, so that's very useful, obviously. Volts here, we're currently reading 13 volts on the battery, so that's fine. RPM gauge, so this is the RPM of the actual engine, the crank, isn't it? It's 3,000 RPM. 2,000 RPM, and as long as you don't exceed 3,000 RPM, the Merlin is absolutely fine. Right.
You will want to change that. It's like how it is. You will want to change that throughout the flight with the aforementioned RPM handle to maintain optimum kind of engine speed. So there is an optimum RPM and an optimum boost combination for climbing, and there's an optimum one for combat and an optimum one for just standard cruise.
Is there really? We'll have to go over that then at some point, because I didn't know.
It should be listed in the cockpit somewhere, but if not, then I do know them.
Right, so something we're going to do, but okay, that's fine, that's for another day. Supercharge. Okay, what the devil is this? There's an MS or auto normal position. What
yep, that's manual and auto. Just leave that on auto.
That. And we've got FS gear warning. Do not take off if light is on. What could that be?
The light comes on once your supercharger activates.
Roger.
So once you hit a certain altitude. So if the light's on, just don't take off because there's a problem with your airframe.
Roger. Cool. We've got a boost gauge, like you get in a car for a turbocharger, but this is for a supercharger. So that's a boost gauge, probably in PSI, I imagine. It's pretty sick. There's an oil ladder gauge here. That's pounds per something. So what's that? Oil pressure, I'm guessing? Must be.
I believe that's pressure, yeah.
Oil pressure. So if you've got an oil leak, the pressure will go down and your engine will die. Something to keep an eye on. This is a good simple dash. I'm kind of liking it. Wish it was white or something, but it looks good. Temperature. So that is the temperature of the oil. So if it gets too high, your engine will die. If it gets too low, your engine won't work very well. Temperature of the radiator. So this is the coolant temperature. It doesn't seem. I don't seem to see a max, but usually about 90 to 100 degrees is usually around the max. most engines. Right, trying to get my track oil to... there's something we've missed. Around something called Kai gas. It's just kind of below and left of where we're talking about. It's a... No, I can't... Oh, yes, I can turn it. See Kai gas? White. It's a white thing.
Oh, that is the primer for the engine.
Primer for the engine. Right, okay. We'll have a look at that later. Fuel tank... Fuel? Okay, fuel... Here's the fuel gauge.
Yep, you have to press the button next to it in order to get a readout.
Pressing it? Oh, so do you keep your finger on it?
Yep, you have to hold it down to get a readout, and then you just let it go. So it's worth checking. The problem with the Spitfire is that only the only the bottom tank is actually gauged. So you have two fuel tanks. You have a top fuel tank and a bottom fuel tank. So there is no way during standard operation to actually tell how much fuel is in your top tank until such a time as you start draining from the second tank, at which point you can get a reading on the second tank.
Copy that. So that's gallons of fuel, 37 gallons of fuel. Okay, at least I know where that is now. And fuel pressure warning, so that'll be a light that goes off. There is fuel tank pressure on or off. So why would you have a choice there?
Only use if low fuel pressure light is lit while engine is running. So just leave that as off. If you do happen to be flying around and you notice your fuel pressure light has come on for whatever reason, you can flip that as a sort of emergency way to get pressurized.
Understood. Right. So that is the dashdown. We'll now do around the sight and then the right hand side. So let's look at the gun sight. Now underneath I saw some switches. I'm going to try and have another look now. There's a switch for on or off, so that is that just for the gun sight?
Yep, that's just on and off.
Okay.
And next to that you've got the day-night dial.
There's a day or night, so okay. Is there something else? No.
To the left of the on-off switch, you actually have a sort of metal lever you can pull.
Yeah, so that is the
sun shield.
Sun shield, yeah, that's fine. So we've got range. We can change the range. So what is that? Times 100 yards. So 400 yards, 500 yards, 600 yards, 150 yards for the target. So I'm trying to see if it does anything to our cursor. Yes, it does. It does. It changes that look. See?
Yep.
So that's where you want to put the wingspan of the hostile aircraft, then, isn't it?
That's the top one is the range in 100 yards, and the bottom one is the wingspan.
Right. So let's say the wingspan was 60 feet and the range was 400 yards. I'd want to get the target in there and shoot him. Not that you ever get a chance because dogfighting is crazy, but that's awesome. And that appears to be the gun sight done. That was pretty cool. Okay. Now let's jump back down to the bottom right. So there's a paddle on the right. Any idea what the paddle is?
That is your Morse code.
Oh right, so I'm going.
I don't entirely believe it's functional, but you also have a couple of switches on the top of it to change the Morse code settings.
Right. So we've got Morse code settings and the beep beep beep. Pretty sick. Okay, that's cool. If I can get Draco going again. We've got wobble type fuel pump.
Yes, that's for manually pumping fuel into the engine during startup.
So I'm pumping the shit out of this lever. Okay.
After you've pumped it a certain amount, that light fuel pressure light should go off. And once that's off, you've got fuel in the engine ready to start.
Understood. Pretty sick. Okay, now below there's something I'm trying to read. Chassis something or other? What is all that?
That's the gear.
That's gear, did you say?
Yes, that's your gear control. It's a handle. Pull it up.
Can't find the handle for some reason.
It should be down at the moment, so just down and to the right of it.
Oh, there it is. It's not letting me do it, but that's probably because we're on the ground, so I'm not going to worry. So that is the gear basically. That's fine, and we've got indications of there where to put it. Oh, there it goes. Look, whee! Is my aircraft sunk? No, it's not. So it's good. That's cool. There's our gear. Now, on the left of the gear and low down, if we get track IR working, there is something there as well. Can you see that?
Yep, that's your drop tank fuel cock. So if you don't have drop tanks at the moment, but if you were to have, once they implement drop tanks for fuel, you'll be able to pull that down and turn on your drop tanks.
Sick. Right, so simple as that. That's set to drops our drop tank. Right, hang on, just getting old track IR going. There's a danger on-off switch of some kind. Do you see that?
I do. I'm not entirely sure that does. I don't have my labels on at the moment, and I've never had...
Oh, windscreen de-icer.
Yeah.
Windscreen de-icer. Okay, so windscreen de-icer. 2 little switches here. I don't think you're going to see them. IFF circuit B, IFF circuit D.
They're just like all the other IFFs in the aircraft. They're really non-functional, but they are fun to play around with.
Okay, so they don't do anything in DCS, but they're model. There's a red lever next, and oh my god, it makes weird sounds.
Yep, that's your landing gear emergency release.
Oh, I've done my landing gear emergency release. That must be air pressure or hydraulic pressure that forces the gear down, I imagine.
Yep.
Okay, that's interesting. And that appears to be everything. Would you agree? I think that's everything, isn't it?
Well, there's one more thing that will be implemented hopefully soon. If you see just underneath the drop tank fuel lever, there'll be what looks to be an ejection handle next to your seat.
Oh, sick.
That is the drop for... That's how you jettison your fuel tanks once you've used them, once they're all empty.
Right, so you go and then go weep. Okay, that's cool. I forgot about the stick. We've got the rudder pedals, stick here, doodle-doo, and there's also something on the stick. Let's see what this does. There is like a switch, but I can't use it.
Yep, that's your trigger. So if you look on the very top, you should see out, fire, in, and safe. That's a button on an actual Spitfire you'd press to safe and ready the guns.
Can we not press that?
Unfortunately, no, it's not modeled, so you have to keybind that.
Oh, so you have to do keybind that.
It is a requirement to actually have a keybind that.
Roger, right. I think that's us done then, isn't it? Okay, that is the cockpit of the Spitfire. There's some pretty awesome stuff there, actually. I'm pretty impressed by how simple it is. That's cool. We'll do more vids on the Spitfire, but I hope that was useful, and we'll see you later.